mathematicians. Today I wanted to talk about how it would be possible to work with and explore some math properties while using a deck of cards. So these activities that mathematicians could do are activities that they could do either independently or with some guidance from a grown-up or adult at home, or they're also activities that you could incorporate into your virtual lessons with students that would give you an opportunity to take a look at what they know about math properties, but also to give them the additional practice and support in understanding the properties. We know that math properties are extremely important for mathematicians. We also know that having a strong foundation and understanding of these properties allows mathematicians to be really flexible with the work that they're doing and with the thinking that they're doing when it comes to math tasks. Another great thing about these different activities that we're working on is that you can have multiple leveled mathematicians working on the activity at the same time. And on top of that, you can have multiple properties being explored through the use of the same activity. So again, we want to find ways where we can get as much math incorporated into as little amount of time as possible. But they're also a great way for us to assess what our kids know and what our kids can do in a way that is easy to do when we're not sitting right next to them and having the opportunity to look over their shoulder or look at things that they're passing in. So the properties that we want to talk about and focus on today are going to be the commutative property of multiplication and addition. We also want to talk about the associative properties of addition and multiplication. And we want to talk about the identity and distributive properties as well. Again, these are properties that when mathematicians have a solid foundation in their understanding, it allows them to be really confident and flexible thinkers. So what are we going to use for materials? Well, we're going to use a deck of cards. We're going to take out the face cards and we're going to take out the tens for this. One way that you could do this is you can have your mathematicians go ahead and sort the cards into two piles. You might have them sort them into one pile of red and one pile of black, the way that they might if they're a younger mathematician. So we're thinking first grade, second grade mathematician. You're going to have those mathematicians draw two cards. They're going to take those two cards and they're going to add them. So we're going to have 3 plus 5 equals 8. Then we're going to use the commutative property, which says to us we can switch the orders of our addends, or switch, the order of our addends, and our sum will stay the same. So then they're going to rewrite it as 5 plus 3 equals 8. So they're going to start to see that connection between it. Doesn't matter if the 3 is first or the 5 is first, because in both math situations, my answer is going to be 8. Also, when working with your first grade and second grade and even third grade mathematicians, this is where the information about the associative property can come into play. The associative property is much like the commutative property in that it tells you that the order is irrelevant, that your answer is going to be the same. So we could start by adding the 5 and the 4 and then the 3. We can start by adding the 3 and then the 5 and then the 4. So if you think about this, these 3 cards that you've drawn have now given you multiple opportunities for your mathematicians to practice the work. What I really like about doing an activity like this is not only are they seeing ways to explore the properties, but they're also seeing ways to compose and decompose numbers at exactly the same time. Again, a great reason to use cards is that they provide visual support. So for example, maybe your mathematician knows that 3 plus 4 is 7 and they do have that fact committed to memory. Then they're struggling to get from 7 and adding the additional 5. So what they can do is rely on the visual support presented on the card to help them do that. So there's a great activity for them to do. This also is a perfect way for them to work on those multiplication properties. Again, they can start by multiplying the 3 times 4, then they can multiply that by 5. If you are working with older mathematicians and you want to have them explore the commutative property of addition, you can have them draw 4 cards. Have them build 2 two-digit numbers. You can have them build the 2 largest. You can have them build the 2 smallest. You can let them build whatever 2-digit numbers they want. They're going to add those amounts together. So say I choose to do 54 and 43. Then I'm going to choose to do 43 and 54. So lots of opportunity for math practice to happen, lots of opportunity for them to work on that flexibility and understanding of properties, but also something that they can do on their own. We know when we're thinking about families and we're thinking about what we're going to assign, we want to make sure that we're giving really valuable tasks, but we also want to make sure that the tasks that we're assigning don't require the parents to be right there in the moment all the time. So how could we do this? We could have our students record by simply writing down the work that they're doing, taking pictures of it and sending that to us, or just having a parent look over that math. So next up, we want to take a look at how could we use the distributive property when we're working with this math deck of cards. So what I would have my mathematicians do for this activity, I always talk to my third graders about the distributive property is a fantastic strategy to use, but you want to make sure that you're using it in the right math situation. So I suggest that they do that whenever one of their factors is 6 or greater. So I would start by having a mathematician separate the set out, cards that are less than 6, cards that are 6 and greater. Again, we've taken out the face cards, and we've also taken out the 10s for this particular activity. You can have them draw one card from the lower pile and one card from the pile that does have factors from 6 and up. Then you can have them write how they would break up those factors, 6, 7, 8, or 9. Then you can have them use the distributive property. Again, if you're doing an online lesson for your class, this is a super opportunity for you to easily guide the math that they're doing and give them additional practice. It's also a great opportunity for mathematicians who might not be quite there with the properties to see you model it and to hear the thinking and modeling of other mathematicians. Again, what's great about a property like the distributive property is, for example, if we have a factor of 9, think about all the different ways the mathematicians might choose to break up that factor. So you're going to hear lots of authentic math language happening during your lesson. And you're also going to make sure that you're hitting all different kinds of math work all at the same time. Again, if you want to have your mathematicians practice that at home as a skill to work on, it's something that can easily be set up by parents, and then mathematicians can be left to work on that activity, and parents can have the opportunity to have some freedom with it. Thinking again, how do we address situations where families have learners who are at multiple levels? Well, a great way to do that is to have your younger mathematicians working on a property like the associative property or the commutative property, and having your your older mathematicians working on the distributive property. Thanks so much for watching. Happy mathing.